All right, we are here and we are live and we are finally discussing the Devil May Cry Netflix anime. This is the new one because a lot of people will get this sort of mixed up and confused, like, oh, there's two Devil May Cry animes now. Well, there was the old one that was tied into the series, and it is canon. It's canon, by the way, to the series nature. And this seems to be an entirely new reboot. Now, what people feared with this anime before it was coming up in the +1 anime conference for Netflix animes being showed in general was they thought it was going to be connected and tied to the DMC reboot, because you see Dante's guns, they resemble Ebony and Ivory. They resemble the reboot formula where the cartridges are spiked and the guns look completely like that game in particular. And I would have been disappointed if they went that route, because we came here to see this not only rebooted to Devil May Cry fashion, but to follow those characteristics of Dante being like super cocky and sarcastic and just wailing on demons left and right. That's what we came to see. I felt like the old anime for DMC Netflix, it kind of focused less in aspects on the demon killing prospects and what Dante was in it for, which was the revenge nature of killing all these demons, because of course naturally they caused the death of his mother Eva, and he has this vendetta ever since. And then Dante's brother Virgil and the philosophies behind that and their rivalry has gone on throughout the entire series, and that series didn't have those key characters come back and play a role in that due to the placement in the timeline. So I was quite happy to see that they were doing a return to form with this. And when I saw those guns from DMC, when I saw that shit, I was like, oh my fucking god, they're bringing back Dino. Now, while I think the DMC reboot is of course a decent game, it definitely has its fair share of problems, namely in particular with the story and characterization of Dante and Virgil, where Virgil just completely decides to cap a demon woman in the stomach and cause an abortion from there. Thanks, Virgil, you are a sniper in the wings. What the fuck was that? Like, I could get into it and it would be just another long rant of the story, but of course I'm remaking a DMC reboot sort of opinion and analysis on that game. Look forward to that in the future. Anyway, just fucking shameless plug there. Anyway, getting back to this anime and Adi Shankar, of course, while I did enjoy Castlevania season 1 and 2, he was making some weird assessments of saying he's creating the bootleg universe of blending the universes of Castlevania and Devil May Cry together. You have the monsters for it, you have the characters for it, and it would be interesting interactions. I'm not gonna shit on it entirely because it would have been something cool to see, but the fact that he wants to do this instead of like just keeping them all separate and focusing on the standalone nature is something I had issue with, that I thought there would be some sort of disparity between the two and that it will all be muddled up and make everything more complicated and confusing than need be. First impressions are everlasting in this sort of Devil May Cry mythos, and what we see here, it's the same thing we felt with the DMC5 trailer when we first saw it, and people were like, oh man, okay, this is getting good. It looks different in the RE engine, but this is getting good. This is what Devil May Cry is known for. And I'm pleased to report that from what I saw, just the brief fucking snippet alone of Dante just flipping and having a snarl and shooting at these demons with his Berettas, I thought that was cool. The definition of cool, the definition of stylish, and his new look is okay. I would give it a B on the Richter scale. Of course, I need to see more movements and how he looks in action and how he functions, and talking about the lore and the character and the stories. But from what I see so far, I am loving it. And one of the things I kind of want them to do is do something that the old anime didn't do. Integrate these new renditions of the key characters in, like Virgil, Trish, Lady. We need to see it happen and have it feel more tied to the mythos than normal, because the original anime, it felt a little bit detached in that regard. I'm gonna go find the tweet, but the look itself is a giant amalgamation of differing Dantes. It's, of course, if you were worried that they were going to settle on the reboot, it seems like there are elements in there, if I could find this, it's like sprinkled in between. So you have the shorter hair of Dante, and I thought it was interesting. It kind of reminds me of the Devil May Cry 2 hair. Then you have the shoulder straps, and I guess that could come from DMC4, the leather shoulders. The pendant looks a little weird. People say it looks like the DMC reboot pendant, as well as wearing the greaser sort of normal white shirt that he has that was kind of reminiscent of the reboot as well to me, as well as the studs and the harness of DMC3. And then you have, no, people say it's like a DMC5 shirt, but I don't see it because that was like black, and in the reboot it was like white, and it kind of looks white here. So of course a lot of fucking semantics in between, but it seems like they're taking an amalgamation of different styles and they made their own version of Dante. Whether it's still going to tie into that universe or not remains to be seen. Of course, they said the collar of Dante, the popping collar, was a stretch of being reminiscent of DMC1. Things could evolve over time as well. We see Dante having some plain ass Berettas, right? But he could take his guns and get them upgraded and manufactured from other means. Of course, we don't know if Nico is going to be in this universe, and she was making stuff for the characters as well. I think obviously is going to probably progress more and more over the seasons, and they actually have a synopsis of this anime which I want to read, and it's short and sweet as the teaser trailer, but I'm looking forward to it. You hear the butt rock and everything, and the heavy metal, and it's like, oh man, this feels like an embodiment of what I want to see. I just wish that it was a longer trailer so I could dissect the rest of it just like everyone else, but the synopsis goes as follows. The animated series will follow the sinister forces at play to open the portal between the human and demon realms. In the middle of it all is Dante, an orphan demon hunter for hire, unaware that the fate of both worlds hangs around his neck. Obviously referring to the pendant having a bigger role than normal. When, you know, put them all together, you can summon the Tim and the Gru, and a lot of crazy shit starts happening, as well as the fact that if they bring in Virgil, he can rift dimensions, and what is his goals and motivations from there? Will he try to summon the stuff and of course open the world to the demon domain, where everything starts to get very complicated down there? We could have some serious fun on our hands, a serious party, baby. I can't wait for this anime though. While I do have reservations of which direction is going into, everything appears to be stellar so far. It appears to be prime Devil May Cry. And the main thing to wonder about is like, oh, is that still Ruben? It doesn't sound like Ruben Langdon to me. It sounds like a completely new guy. I'm just used to how he sounds in DMC3, but obviously it's been some time since then, so the voice has matured and aged since that time. And what time period they're going into is because it looks, from all intents and purposes I see, this looks like a younger Dante again. It's not like the worn older Dante that you see in DMC5. It looks like a younger sort of upstart tradition, and if he doesn't have his guns yet, if he's still going by Tony Redgrave and stuff like that, then it's probably the apprentice years as we go along into the mix. But I hope it has its own unique original story just based around those characters that we see, and we go from there. I think it's going to be fascinating and interesting how they pull this off, and hopefully, as they always say for these good first impressions, just don't fuck it up. Just don't fuck it up and we'll be fine. We won't be fighting in the middle of the street with fucking laser beams and swords and fucking force edges, and I'll be getting my Ifrit Greaves out and I'll be punching some dudes, because that's what I'm going to be doing if they fuck up this anime. I'm heavily looking forward to Devil May Cry. Because Devil May Cry is one of those franchises I want to be constantly represented over and over again and have good criteria, good media. Hell, make a fucking remake to DMC2. I know that that game was pure ass and pure balls, but you could just make a remake to that. Do it. Put it under the RE engine, make it better. I buy it. I will be there if it plays anything reminiscent of DMC5. You know what I want, you know what I need, Capcom, you know what I need with this anime. But once again, I just I'm a little bit skeptical at the end with Adi, because like I said, how are they going to blend this in with Castlevania? How are they going to make that work? It would be awesome. Ultimately, if it ends up being too convoluted, I would have a cause for concern. Maybe like a 1-season crossover, and then you could go back to normal. Konami could do their thing, Capcom could do theirs. Everything's all good. Maybe that would be the solution, as opposed to just saying, now we're gonna cross everything over and then is going to be just a giant mess. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. That is the end of this video. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed me talking about the Devil May Cry new animated series. Looking banging so far. Not much information, but from what we gather, from what we glean, it seems like it's gonna be a smoking good time, and I cannot wait to give my review and see what I liked, see what I didn't like, and go from there. Maybe I'll love it wholeheartedly, maybe I won't, but hey, those are my opinions. I will see you guys next time. Tell me what you think in the comment section below about the new Devil May Cry teaser and the aspirations and things that you want, and I will see you guys next time. Keep it smoking sexy stylish, and see you later. Also, PS, I just wanted to make a clarification that, of course, yes, if I mentioned that the old anime did not have the particular characters, they did indeed have Lady and Trish. I do remember that, but I had to like jog my brain in like 1,000 times. Like, did they really show up? Did they really? But they did. And it still didn't feel like it was enough of them. It still did not feel like I barely remembered those characters being in that anime. So if I shat on that aspect, I apologize, but still, we could use more of them in this new anime, and we could use more Virgil. I know it didn't really make any sense because those familial ties with Virgil sort of happened with DMC1, and Dante did kill Virgil, quote unquote, during this time in the timeline, and then DMC anime came after the first one. There's that timeline sort of issue there, which is why Virgil was not featured. But once again, I stick by my guns. I stick by my belief that if you're starting the slate clean, you don't have to worry about any of that, and you can introduce those characters at any point in time and establish them clearly. If this is a new origin Dante, I don't see the issue with that. That's something they should do. They should make those characters a lot more prominent than they did in the old anime, as well as adding in more fights, because like I said, it felt like there was not a lot of demon slaying, ass kicking in that original anime. It was just mostly about the relationship between Dante and Patty, and I found that to be kind of boring, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of boring to me. And for the merits that the anime had, with some cool moments like where Dante's on stage and he shoots that guy in the head, it just felt like it could have been much more than what it was. And I think that is the issue, that what could have been this time around versus what they could do now, which is establish all that stuff that we know the series for and add in a more breakneck pace that would be readily suitable to those standards.